Hello, this is Nicholas Bozell, and today I'm going to be doing my final presentation, and it will be on the HDI increases in Africa. Now, why did I pick this topic? Africa is a sadly ignored part of the world, and they have made a lot of progress in the past 30 or so years on terms of the development. I chose to see which countries were advancing the fastest and in what ways. HDI, or Human Development Index scores, are a good measure of living standards. It's split into three main parts: wealth, education, and life expectancy. And as for my source, all the data sets, including HDI, education for men and women, life expectancy, and the GDP per capita, are all gathered from Gapminder. And what did I use to make this and why? Tableau Public was used to display many of the graphs together and process large amounts of data. Customization and color were also a factor, as the display consists of a map for HDI and several line graphs for life expectancy, years of schooling for both genders, and GDP per capita. This shows all that data in one big display, and the colors are used to represent quality, with green meaning more and red meaning less. You usually get the picture. And what we have here is a measure of the different African development and its components. HDI is broken up into life expectancy, GDP per capita, and generally education, years in school. Because Gapminder splits it up by gender, I have one for men and one for women. And as you can notice, the colors tend to correspond with the quality, with red generally being the worst, yellow being in the middle, and green being better. And I also have the data for many different years, stretching roughly from 1980 up to 2009. And keep in mind, while the map looks a little spotty here in 1980, it definitely does populate itself much more over the years, and you can see the countries becoming steadily greener as time goes on, showing that the living standards of the area are indeed improving. There's a few that don't have much data, but those such as Somalia, Libya, and Zimbabwe, but there really was not as much coming out of there at that point. And some of the countries we see advancing with some of the fastest examples of advancement could be shown with GDP per capita, which is with Equatorial Guinea, this little bitty nation right here. It's got a fairly high HDI by African standards, and it's in the green zone in 2009. But back at around 2000, its citizens on average only made about $8,600 a year. Now that number has soared up to over 30,000. And there are other examples that I can trace as well. Some of the wealthier countries and outliers include countries like Seychelles, which is way out here, one of these island nations, and they've grown quite a bit. Life expectancy has also soared up for a lot of the continent, and also has schooling, though there are many parts of the continent that also tend to lag behind. Mainly the areas that develop the fastest seem to include North Africa, as well as this little cluster of countries in the center near Gabon, and this cluster of countries in the south, branching off from South Africa. And also Ghana, though there also seems to be a connection of some countries that remain relatively underdeveloped. Those including the Congo jungle, the Saharan countries, and this little cluster of nations in Western Africa that have very low HDIs and have maintained relatively lower living standards. The map also breaks up which countries have advanced in what ways. And some countries advance in different ways than others. I can hold this down and check to see which countries are doing better. Granted, Equatorial Guinea is soaring ahead with GDP per capita, and Egypt and South Africa are generally less wealthy. However, South Africa is considerably better educated. This shows different changes in how these countries tend to operate. You can also see how fast some of them have changed. Many countries that are in the green range now used to be in yellows or even oranges. One example being Ghana. and you can see a huge increase in how Ghana in 1980 is compared to Ghana in 2009. Though Botswana has advanced the most out of a lot of these countries, but still, their life expectancy does drop a bit. Due to the AIDS epidemic. It does show how different factors can influence how Africa and its HDI will go up in the future. I believe that sums a lot of it up quite well, actually. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.